the retribution was horrendous. So even people like Chief Joseph were like caught up in it, and he ended up having to lead his whole band to Canada and fighting a rearguard action with the American troops. And he was almost, people really respected him because he was so civilized and so brave. But he was almost at the Canadian border, and the U.S. Army caught him about 40 miles from the Canadian border where he would have had sanctuary, and then they shipped him off in a train someplace, and he never saw the, what's the name of that valley, that fertile valley up in Oregon? It's called the Willamette, something valley up in Oregon. Is it the Willamette? It's a name similar to that, anyway. He never saw it again in his life. Those stories are repeated over and over and over and over and over again in this saga, which bears out my point of the inevitability of it, unfortunately. When you get 100 million immigrants in a country like America coming from Europe, I don't care what country they came from, whether they came from Germany, England, Scandinavia, Hungary, Russia, Italy, Ireland. Half the U.S. cavalry was made up of Irish people who had never even been born in this country. When you get those people coming face to face with a technologically different society with totally different customs, the clash is unfortunately going to be sometimes horrendous. And that's what happened. And Black Elk explains, you know, when he takes the train back east, he can't believe what they're seeing. They can't believe, first of all, what a train is like. And they can't believe a city like Chicago. And they can't believe a city like New York. And they can't believe the ocean liners. They're on the ocean liners, and they're all praying that they survive. There's very moving passages in this book. But I think one of the things that Sitting Bull used to be upset by, and I think Black Elk may mention it, was all the beggars on the streets of New York, you know, or Chicago. They would hand out from their Wild West show. They had money in their pocket from Buffalo Bill, and they would actually hand out money to some of these people because they couldn't imagine why there could be so many poor people, you know, on the streets of these huge towns. But they don't understand a modern industrial society. They don't understand that the tribal links are broken down, the family links are broken down, the allegiances are broken down. You're in an industrial morass, not just in America and New York, but in Manchester, England, and Birmingham, England. Dickens writes about London at the same time. I mean, it's a horror. Just have to read Dickens. I don't like Dickens as a writer. I think he's a maniac. But I'm going to hear his Christmas story again for the 100th millionth time in just a month or two from now. But you know, his picture of the London post-industrialist mess is a mess. But what's that? Who's responsible for that? Post-industrial, modern, capitalist society. That's the side effects of it. You know, Karl Marx isn't going to change it. Adolf Hitler is not going to change it. Joseph Stalin didn't change it. The only way it can be changed is by the people living in it, ameliorating it slowly, by getting together and trying to deal with its most deleterious effects that we try to do here. In the meantime, you and I have to survive. So that's why I try to, you know, cut some of the anger at this stuff, because anger is never going to make you survive in this post-industrialist capitalist society doesn't care about your anger. It grinds your anger down. And so, again, let's go back to Black Elk. So he goes to the Pine Ridge Reservation, and that's where Black Elk, all that has to do with seeing the effects of the Pine Ridge. That was a lecture on Pine Ridge, in case you didn't know what I was talking about, on how depressing it is to see this, what the situation finally has resulted in the modern period. Anyway, from the agent in charge at the Pine Ridge Agency, who was liked my writing, knew my Song of the Indian War book, I learned of an old Sioux by the name of Black Elk who lived among the barren hills some 20 miles east of where the agency had its headquarters, near a store of some kind of post office called Manderson, South Dakota. I'm sure if you looked on a map, you could find Manderson, South Dakota now. He was a kind of preacher, I was told, kind of holy man, Wahasha Wakan, and had been some importance in the Messiah affair. What's the Messiah affair? We're in religious things now, so we want to worry about Messiah affair. The Messiah affair is going to be what you're going to get at the end of this book if you can read it through. I hope you do read it through as fast as you can, because I can't cover this whole book. It's too long, and we don't have a certain amount of time. I'd like to read it with you always. It's fun to read together. I hope you enjoy doing that, but